David has finally been arrested.
A lot has happened.
A whole lot has happened.
And a whole lot has been revealed.
Major breaking news now. Detectives from the Los Angeles Police Department Robbery Homicide Division have arrested singer David Burke for the murder of Celeste Rivas.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to JJ Vibe. You know I got my amazing queen with me.
Thanks, my amazing boo.
So Lewis and Gabriel, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Where else would you rather be?
Only on JJ Vibe.
We got to talk about David.
D4VD. How does that equate to David?
David has finally been arrested.
A lot has happened.
A whole lot has happened.
And a whole lot has been revealed.
And a whole lot has been revealed.
Viral artist David was just arrested in one of the most horrifying cases the music industry has ever seen. But what makes this story even crazier is that prosecutors claim Celeste Rivas Hernandez was tragically murdered nearly an entire year ago.
Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time, went to Mr. Burke's house. She was never heard from again.
There's been an autopsy on Celeste Rivas.
Graphic, too graphic.
Rest in peace.
Now, the autopsy results in the David case, spelled D4VD, have finally been released. And with this information now out, we're getting a much clearer picture of what happened to 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. This is a report that up until now had not been made public. Authorities were holding back those details, while the medical examiner's office was pushing for its release. Now it's out not just to the public, but to the family as well. And from what we know, they're learning a lot of this information at the same time as the rest of the world.
If you guys still remember, David was the guy that the body of Celeste was found in his
body in Tesla. Yep.
Body in David's car.
We have an episode on it.
Facts. And this is like our updates to the whole event that's been happening. It's been a whole lot. We've been talking about why is this guy still walking free, but he's finally been held behind bars.
Yeah, it took a while, but I guess the LAPD were working to get more evidence, considering the fact that there were so many social media stories surrounding David, and also the cleanup that they were trying to do and all that. So they wanted to, I guess they wanted to be patient enough to gather enough evidence to be able to now come up with some sort of arrest. So now the arrest did happen.
The David case, we've been talking about this. He's been charged with murdering 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, currently segregated from the other inmates, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. You know, first, our thoughts go out to the family for what they've had to endure, family of Ms. Rivas.
Yeah.
It's horrible to even imagine what they've been through for the last year.
Did you meet with them?
I personally have not. Our detectives have. Yeah.
And what have they, I'm sure it's been a long, confusing process.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what they're going through.
You know, a lot of speculation because of the notoriety of the case. You know, so many people come up with their own ideas of what happened or didn't happen, and some of it was so far off the mark through the middle months of this in particular. And, you know, the family, while it may be entertainment for some, the family, it's certainly not. It's something very, very serious. And, you know, I think we all need to take a step back on some of these major cases and let the process work its way through. Our detectives did a tremendous amount of work on this under very, very difficult circumstances. And ended up being criticized for not making an arrest fast enough.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, this case is getting a lot of attention, not only because it is a singer and famous to many people, but also she was just 13 when she left her house and then murdered at 14, when she was just 14 years old. And it took 7 months after her body was found for him to be charged. And a lot of people are wondering, why did it take so long?
Yeah, there's an awful lot that goes into to the investigation. The state of the body when it was found was degraded, decomposed, and that creates another set of circumstances of complexity for the investigators and the coroner staff to be able to come up with a determination as to cause and manner of death. Whenever we have a death and it's appropriate, a toxicology has to be done on it, and a tox takes up to 6 months to be able to get the results back from that. But that's critical to know what other factors other than what might have been visible were involved in the determination of the cause of death. So a lot of times it takes a while to be able to get the full picture, and this was one of those cases.
And autopsy came. Too graphic.
Because this has been one of the biggest missing pieces in this case. Without these details, it's been difficult to fully understand what happened to Celeste. Now, the cause and manner of death were determined back in December, and this is the first key point. The report states that Celeste died from multiple penetrating injuries caused by an object or objects, and the manner of death has been ruled as a homicide. Now, as for what that object or those objects were specifically, that hasn't been confirmed. As of now, there's no publicly identified murder weapon as far as we know. However, this is what we know. The report, which I was able to obtain, goes into specific detail. It states that Celeste had 2 separate penetrating wounds to her torso. The first was located on the upper right side of her abdomen, and according to the report, that wound penetrated her liver with an approximate depth of 1.5 inches. She also had a second penetrating wound, this time to the lower side of her chest, which was measured at around 2 inches in depth. Now, the report expands on what investigators found at the time of discovery.
And then other revealing things as the night that she was murdered, David paid for her Uber to come to his space and, even getting rid of items to cover it up.
Allegations released in an evidence filing by the prosecution offers the most detailed timeline since the case made headlines last year. The prosecution laid out the singer's alleged motive and steps they say he took to cover his tracks before the 14-year-old's dismembered body was found in the singer's car. We want to warn you, some of the descriptions may be upsetting.
Sketches from court show David Burke shackled and wearing jail clothes as his attorney unsuccessfully argued to keep this memo from being publicly released. In it, prosecutors say Burke killed 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez by stabbing her multiple times, then dismembering her body in his garage using chainsaws. The court filing says Burke met Rivas Hernandez when she was 11 years old and began a sexual relationship with her when she was 13 and he was 18. According to prosecutors, text messages revealed the two had an argument on April 22nd of last year, the day before Rivas Hernandez went missing, and she threatened to expose their inappropriate relationship and destroy Burke's rising singing career. The next day, prosecutors say Burke ordered a rideshare for Rivas Hernandez, and after she arrived at his Hollywood home, her phone went silent permanently. The memo says Burke sent late-night text messages to Rivas Hernandez's phone asking where she was in an attempt to cover up the killing.
The covering was not so covering,
Facts.
And the horrific, terrible, pungent odor that the neighbors too were perceiving, and a whole lot happened.
A whole lot.
Well, we're about to reveal why his arrest took so long, as well as break down all of the wild new evidence. The reality of the situation is, what David did is just as disturbing.
I apologize in advance for the way my bathroom smelled. I took a and threw it on the roof.
I don't care, I just took it.
Another one? That's what I'm talking about.
Little did David's friends here know that what they actually smelled was the remains of a fresh crime scene in his garage, literally only a few feet below them, where David had allegedly murdered and dismembered a young victim using 2 chainsaws. And RIP Celeste, by the way. But If you're wondering how no one else noticed such an unmistakable smell,
Thanks for taking my shot.
I got y'all. What's good, y'all?
They're in the bathroom.
There's 12 right there.
Yeah, but like, mom, we're not, all of us in here, just hearing.
Kissing stream.
as the preliminary brief now states, after putting his chainsaw to hunting use and then leaving his victim's body to decompose in the trunk of his Tesla, for months David had lied to friends, business associates, and others about the strong smell of decay. The more details that come out, the darker the story gets.
It looks like the LAPD justified the reason why it took a while for them to get him arrested, because they were gathering the facts. And from what they presented is looking like there is no way that David is going to get out of this.
Yep.
On the night, right before investigators say she took her last breath, David and 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez reportedly had a lengthy argument over text. As court papers read, the messages on April 22nd, 2025 revealed the victim's jealousy over defendant's relationship with other women, as he had led her to believe they had a future together. Celeste allegedly became upset and therefore threatened to disclose damaging information about their relationship to, quote, end David's career and destroy his life. They also point out how David's debut studio album was scheduled to release 2 days later on the 25th, but not before this happened. At approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23, 2025, prosecutors alleged that David had ordered an Uber ride for Celeste to come over to his place. However, when she arrived at 10:10 p.m. at his rented house in the Hollywood Hills, knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, very soon after her arrival, David allegedly stabbed Celeste multiple times in his garage and stood by while she ended, making zero effort to save her life. Believe it or not, the victim's remains were not found until over 4 months later. So, what did David do in the meantime? New details claim he got right to work trying to cover up his tracks, only to fail miserably in the end. At approximately 10:30 p.m., David had sent text messages to Celeste's phone inquiring where she was, but they say this was simply part of David's cover-up plan, as she was already gone by this point. An hour later, at 11:30 p.m., David tried to text and call her again. Before then, as both cell phone and Tesla GPS data confirm, David's next move was to drive to an isolated area off of State Road 154 in an attempt to dispose evidence.
State Road 154, Santa Barbara. License plate reader, both directions. You're done, son.
However, clearly he didn't do a good job of disposing the evidence, seeing as a road worker actually found Celeste's passport at the same exact spot a few months later. Yet, despite discarding her passport, plus who knows what else, David still had the victim's body in his garage. And to prove this timeline even more, prosecutors revealed that April 23rd was also the day when all of Celeste's cell phone activity totally ceased. But on the other hand, for David, you could have never guessed, as he was as active as ever on social media, preparing to release his first major album. Literally only 1 day after ending Celeste's life with a sharp instrument, David announced that tickets for his new world tour were officially up for sale. Album today, finally, what the f***, David tweeted at 5 p.m., approximately 19 hours later. However, along with going live on his Twitch channel this same day.
Oopsie daisies, twin. Oopsie daisies, twin. Oopsie daisies, twin. Who got the bundle, though? Who pre-saved the album, though? The album come out in 4 hours. Who pre-saved that? Who did that? Who did these? Bruh, I just want to say big shout out to Fortnite, bruh, for giving me the locker bundle. I've been waiting for this for so long, bro. Whoa. You guys don't understand.
And then even hosting his own packed out in-person album release party. First, though, as new details tell us, he had some other business to tend to. Once more, showing us how stupid he is. Tellingly, David then purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body on April 24th, 2025. To be more precise, David reportedly ordered a shovel from Home Depot, which was then delivered to his house by Postmates.
How on earth could he have thought he was going to get away with this? It says on April the 24th, 2025, defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates.
After receiving a shovel from Home Depot, there was still a lot of evidence, though, that David was going to need much heavier tools for.
They have cell phone evidence. They have
the Discord server evidence now.
There's
so many.
There's so much that they have. They have orders that David made.
Yeah, he did make some orders of inflated pool, or what they call that. And then some, I guess, I don't want to call it weapon now, that he used to dismembered.
Crazy.
According to prosecutors, Burke also ordered chainsaws and an inflatable pool online to dismember her body and contain the blood. The memo says Rivas Hernandez's remains may have been in the singer's Tesla for months and says visitors to his home asked about the smell. Rivas Hernandez's remains were found in September 2025 after the Tesla was impounded.
They have all of this. his texting and self-lullaby that he was trying to create.
He tried to create an alibi that didn't even make sense.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And then they were able to collect some DNAs too in the garage. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And we also remember the what's it called? The private investigator that the owner of the property too had his own investigation that he did too that was also supporting.
Yeah.
New huge information coming out about Celeste Rivas Hernandez and David. Private investigation was started into what possibly happened at the home that David was renting in LA by the homeowner of that home. And this private investigator was already able to uncover some bombshell information, like who was the last person that was driving David's Tesla that would put it in the spot where it was later found with Celeste Rivas Hernandez in the frunk. This private investigator went on Law and Crime Network and News Nation, Ashley Banfield, to detail some of the things that he found since starting this private investigation. Doing so in a way without releasing any names to the public because they don't want to hurt this investigation. And everything that they did uncover, they are saying that they did turn over to police just in case they didn't have it already.
So there was a whole lot that was presented in a pre-trial. And it's not looking good for David.
No, it's not.
LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman filed 7 criminal charges against Burke, including murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child, and the mutilation of remains. A preliminary hearing has been scheduled for May 26th. Burke has pleaded not guilty to the charges against him, his lawyers maintaining the singer had nothing to do with Rivas Hernandez's death.
David is going to be in jail for a long time.
And that's it. So many, I guess there were so many counts on even the whole minor situation too.
Yeah.
It looks like he's gonna get prosecuted for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many graphic things they found on his phone.
Yeah, the
CP, crazy.
The biggest new piece of evidence revealed, prosecutors say a significant amount of child porn found on Burke's cell phone. We also want to point out that this all happens one day after the medical examiner's report became public. That is the report on the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Family of Rivas Hernandez is absolutely devastated to learn the gruesome details contained in that write-up.
And man, like, this guy's a menace. I don't feel sorry for him.
No.
For what he did to that little girl.
Yeah, and then using that as a form of art, dark art, and then also using that as a form of profitization now. After doing all those gruesome things, leaving all of that behind and going on tour.
But again, not even 24 hours after the execution, on the evening of April 24th, David then pulled up to his album release party.
The next day, they have a album release party and Wither Tour pre-sale, and then ticket sales start. His management's in town. His management who leased the house is in town. Don't know where they're staying, and his friends are all around. I put up pictures yesterday of them on the 24th at this party. This would be just hours after.
Celebrating like he hadn't just lived through a real-life horror movie. When the following day rolled around and David's debut album released to the world on April 25th, he still looked happier than ever. This kid's album is finally out. I can't believe it. My album out now. Thank you all. Love you. He typed on the 25th, taking a selfie with the biggest smile across his face.
Acting like nothing happened. Crazy. And in between his interviews too, you could see his subliminal confessions.
Yeah.
Led by the single titled One More Dance, which, besides its creepy music video, body and then stuffing it in the trunk of his car. And when asked to describe the song, it's about having one more dance with somebody before they leave you forever, he answered. David's new album, Wither, debuted at number 13 on Billboard and received generally positive reviews. Also included at track 8 is the Invisible String Interlude. And not only do many believe that this is actually Celeste's voice talking, with a slight pitch change added for obvious reasons, but then, during one of his last podcasts, David actually said this.
So we talk about like the interludes. It seems to be your love interest, right? What is that adding to the story?
it's a whole different layer of depth, things that add to the story. I'm talking about the invisible string theory, which is a common theme and one of the most, the motifs for the project. And with the interlude, it's kind of explaining from my perspective. And the irony of it was that person that was saying, I love you, she's not in my life anymore. So it's like people say that the string can't be cut and the connection cannot be severed, but I feel like it can sometimes. And that's why I wanted to put, Afterlife and all these songs that feel like endings and conclusions and goodbyes on the project.
Well, it's not exactly clear to us when his interview here on the Zach Sang Show was recorded in the studio. It turns out this wasn't David's only time talking about that same mysterious voice.
There's another voice at the end.
So there's an extra layer that I added throughout the album where you hear like little voice bites. I cannot disclose who the voice is. Just, sound bites and things to add an extra layer of authenticity and storytelling to the project. And there's an interlude as well.
I got a question.
What's the question?
Why don't you hold my hands anymore?
Let me talk. No, you ain't gonna let me talk about you tripping.
If you ask me, that definitely sounds like Celeste's voice after you adjust the pitch. Yet, as for David, though, and what he did next in the hours following the incident, on April 25th, again the day of his album's release, David had hopped on a flight from LA to New York City, where he then held a collab event with BandLab, like we can see here, to celebrate with fans face to face.
So, David is locked up, and the trial hasn't started yet, but we're going to be following this case.
So I guess we have another episode of D4VD.
Yeah, as soon as the trial starts, we'll talk about it. So, for those who are wondering why it took the detectives and the LAPD so long to get him arrested.
If you try to run or if you try to resist, you will get hit with my feet or shit hurt. I got you. If you try to run, we'll clean out our premises and you will get bit. I got you. All right, so you want to open the gate?
Today, I am announcing the charges against David Anthony Burke, the musician known as David. These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances, a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Between the finding of the body of Celeste's body, why has it taken so long for an arrest to be made?
I think the police chief got it right. You have to go through the very rigorous and thorough investigation. That is what we've been doing over the last between September 8th, roughly, and today when we bring these charges on April 20th.
On April 20th, 2026, with Celeste's family in attendance for his hearing, David Burke was officially charged with first-degree murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Again, as prosecutors stated, David ended her young life to protect his music career. However, in addition to his parents who say they support and stand by their son 100%, despite the mountain of evidence, David has pleaded not guilty to all charges, with his lawyers claiming this.
Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death.
David's high-powered defense team certainly has a long road ahead of them, because, as the preliminary brief concludes, prosecutors plan to present even more evidence against David, including photos and videos of the two engaged in adult activity, text messages about pregnancy and such, receipts of David's obvious Amazon purchases that line up with all of the exact dates, proof that he paid for Celeste's Uber ride the night that she was last at home, and then, if you still weren't convinced, DNA evidence from bloodstains that were collected in David's garage are now revealed to be a precise match to that of Celeste.
Now, in some recent updates to this story, it does seem like the LA County DA is really looking to throw the book at David.
I think the LAPD and the prosecutors, they took their time to gather enough evidence.
And I guess the public now should ease off on them now. They worked really, really hard now.
Yeah.
So we know that we wanted it to happen quickly. But then again, sometimes some things require patience.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, our condolences to the families of Celeste Rivas.
Yes.
And because for them to, I can only imagine how they have to deal with this whole information coming out.
Yeah, it's not a good thing for someone to lose their child.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And then, but, there were also stories associated with the Celeste's parents now being bad parents and being aware of a relationship with David, and David, doing some sort of monetary exchange for Celeste now.
But that's all speculations.
But that's still speculations.
So I don't think even if that happened, it won't be nice for them to see what happened to their daughter. So
yeah, I agree.
Condolences to them.
Yeah.
And we'll keep you guys posted and informed as soon as this case goes on trial. And we'll let you guys know. So if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe because you don't want to miss the David updates when it comes. So hit the notification button while you're at it, and also hype the video so it can hit everybody around the world. Let them know that you're here. Where else would you rather be? See you guys in the next one.
Bye-bye now.